Bruce Buffer. Welcome to the show, buddy.
His voice to me was everything. Sports, obviously in sports, it was my legendary brother and still is Michael Buffer, known for his "let's get ready to rumble" phrase. You just have to reach deep inside, grab it and say, listen, I'm going to step forward. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to let the world know I exist. And I always tell everybody, walk into a room like you own it. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time, it's time to just put it all on the line. But you're only as good as you are today. If you're living on your laurels, you might drop your performance of what you're performing at today. It's time. Do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? It's time.
Welcome back to the Men's Collective podcast, the place for us men to have the real conversations about what it takes to rise, grow, and become better men. We are the Average Joes, Wayne Taylor here, and today I'm joined by three legends, Mikie, Jamie being two of those regulars, and one coming back for round number 2 after his first TKO with the show a few weeks back, and that is the great friend of the show, the 2022 IBO World Champion, Dennis Hogan. Fellas, welcome back.
Welcome back, bro.
Hey, boys.
Well, look, today's episode is a powerful reminder that life isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's happening with or without you. It's happening now. We're talking about the moments that define us, the ones where you stop making excuses, stop playing small, and finally say, it's time. It's time to step up, time to take ownership, and time to be the voice, not the echo. Joining us today for this week's topic called It's Time is a man who spent a huge part of his life not just announcing champions, but living like one himself. Known as the voice of the Octagon, if you know anything about the UFC, then you know this man, the legend, the man behind the voice and behind the chant, it's time, Mr. Bruce Buffer. Welcome to the show, buddy.
My pleasure.
Okay, look, mate, you're known as the voice of the Octagon, and that voice is so iconic around the world. But before the Octagon, whose voice were you listening to as to what shaped you early on as a man?
Well, it ranges from film to sports. Obviously in sports, it was my legendary brother and still is Michael Buffer, known for his "let's get ready to rumble" phrase. A man who I didn't meet until I was 28 years old. We're long lost half brothers. And I wound up managing his career 4 years later after I met him. So his voice to me was everything, in the way that we built his brand and built the "let's get ready to rumble" brand and trademarked it together to become what it is today. I can go into film and other fine actors. You look at Morgan Freeman, who has one of the greatest voices around, and some of the great voices of sports. There's many icons in sports and entertainment, and I'm very happy to say that my brother Michael Buffer is one of them, and definitely impressive.
Hey, Bruce, just, mate, like the Octagon, the world's full of noise. But amongst that noise, everyone can hear your voice. How does a man grab his own microphone in life, rise above the noise, and truly be heard?
Well, there's born leaders and there's followers, and both are just as important. Life is like a pyramid. You've got the president, CEOs, the mom, the dad, everything leading down to the bottom, and companies that ranges from the people that, pack the boxes, answer the phones, do the sales, leading all the way up to the top. Everybody has an important role in life. But when it comes to grabbing that microphone and standing out in front of the pack, you've got to say, are you comfortable being on stage, being in front of people? It's probably one of the scariest things in the world for many people, is to do any kind of public speaking or to be on stage in front of 20, much less what I do, 20,000, 50,000, depending on the event that I'm announcing. You just have to reach deep inside, grab it and say, listen, I'm going to step forward. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to let the world know I exist. And I always tell everybody, walk into a room like you own it. Walk in a room, stand tall, be a role model to your sphere of influence, and go in and take command of that room, and if you've got a product to sell, if you've got a venture to explain or to sell, or if you're representing a show or an entertainment or sports venue, then believe in yourself, go out and be yourself, right? But be confident, have confidence, right? I call it BSC, ball, skill, and confidence, right? Have all three together with the 20% luck factor and go for it.
Yeah, that's good, mate.
I like that.
And beyond the Octagon, what does the phrase "it's time" mean to you personally?
Well, in the Octagon, it means obviously the fighters have been training for 8 to 10 weeks. The fans have been sitting here for 5 hours to come down to the main event. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time. It's time to just put it all on the line and go for the outcome that it happens. But to me, it's time is a daily thing for me. I wake up in the morning, and before I ever set in the octagon, I was shaving my face, looking in the mirror, and going, "It's time. It's time to be the best I can be, to have the best day I can have, to go out and perform." Because to me, you're only as good as your last performance. You're only as good as you were yesterday, and you're only as good as you are today. You'll never hear me sit down and live on my laurels like, "Oh, I did a 360 at UFC 100, or I did this, or I did that." That's all great. Those are memories. They're in the history books or in your mental history book of things you've done, but you're only as good as you are today. If you're living on your laurels, you might drop your performance of what you're performing at today. When I step in that octagon every night I walk in there, to me, it's my very first night. I have to prove to myself, the fans that be, Dana White, and the fighters that I deserve this job. And that's my attitude.
Thanks.
Bruce, showing up with so much intensity every fight night to get the crowd ready would be tough. But would you still show up? And how does a man show up every single time when sometimes he may not have the strength?
Well, I've done the show with a blown out back. I've done the show with a blown out ACL, one leg, 103-degree temperature, coming off laryngitis. You name it, I've probably been through it. Jet lag beyond belief, flying down to the wonderful country down under that I love to visit so much, and performing the very next day. The bottom line is I tell myself the fighters are fighting, putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line. I can always get through a show. So I feel the energy of the crowd, and I get a rush of adrenaline, and it sparks me up. It gets me going. But I'm always ready. It's showtime. If you can't step up, whether you're, coming out and playing football, or you're coming out and running a race, or you're coming out and announcing into a microphone, this is your time. This is my job. This is what I get paid to do. And this is what the fans and the fighters, are waiting for me to do. And I got to give every ounce of emotion, energy, and passion, which I'm very passionate about what I do, to really perform at that moment. So nobody will ever know when I'm sick, right? I got to come out there and do it. They're fighting. I'm announcing. I know what it's like to fight. I can announce. No problem.
Beautiful.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Bruce, you mentioned your love for Down Under just in that last response. So is this where we send you a link of all of our dates that are available for a barbecue next time you arrive in Australia?
I'd love to attend, but usually the moment I land to the moment I leave, my dance card is full. I've got so much to do. But I'll take a good one on the Barbie anytime down in Australia, no problem.
Well, you're talking to the right guy here. I'm known to cook a mean barbecue, I'll tell you that. Well, look, mate, when you announce it's time, you've seen some of the greatest champions respond to that and come out fighting. In your opinion, what separates the good from the great?
Well, we get back to similar answers to the past couple questions, and it's a mental attitude, and no offense to your title of your show, Average Joe's Men's Collective, which I think is a great title, by the way. But do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? Are you in this game to go out and have a fight? Are you in this game to perform and give great interviews and be a good person inside and out of the octagon, man or woman both, to gain sponsors, to get more income, to increase the overall range of your earning ability in what you do? How great do you want to be? Where do you want to go? You got to set goals for yourself and set them realistically. Right? People say, I want to make $1 million. Have you ever made 100,000? How about making 100,000? Then think about $250,000. Then okay, everything's coming into focus. Keep your goals conservative, keep them realistic, keep them in a timely manner. And when you realize that something is not working for you, then maybe it's time to pick up your chips and find another poker game. I'm a big poker player. So, it's just, you got to know when to, poker is like fighting. You got to know when to push all in. You got to know when to fold, right? And you got to know how to win with the worst hand. So a lot of applications towards life.
You didn't become the UFC announcer until you're in your 40s. Now, what kept you going all those years until you got your big break?
Well, it was actually around the same age as my brother. We started relatively similar, about 36, 37. I don't remember the exact time. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19. I've owned my own company since I was 19. And I've been in a variety of different businesses. I've had successes. I've had failures. You don't know what it's like to succeed until you know what it's like to fail. I made a lot of money in my 20s. I was living an incredible lifestyle, kind of like Charlie Sheen and 2.5 Men, the beach house, the whole bit, minus the alcoholism. And just enjoying life and living life. But I found my true passion when I met my brother and realized that I wanted to sell the two companies I had. I was making incredible money, but I was burned out. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy waking up every day going to work. And I think it's a wonderful thing when you can be passionate about and be happy when you're going to work, because then you're living a lifestyle. You're not just going to work. You're living a lifestyle, which is your work. And it's very hard for everybody out there to achieve that, but I think it's an ultimate goal to achieve if you really enjoy what you do and you have passion for what you do. Out of all the experiences, all the companies I ran, all the motivational speeches and training thousands of salespeople in the businesses I was in, it prepared me for, where I walked into. When I built my brother's brand, I told him, I said I wanted to be an announcer, and we agreed I would not do boxing. And I said something's going to come along, and the UFC came along. And being a martial artist since I was 12, I realized that that is my world. And I had him announce 3 of the UFCs, and then I worked my way into it, and I've been doing it now for 30 years come next February. So, short answer to a long answer that I should be giving to that question, but I'm a man for all seasons and a man for all reasons. I've done a lot of different things, and I found out what I truly love to do, and that's what I'm sticking with. And I'm building a brand. The Octagon is my base, and I build all my revenue streams out of that base into all the other businesses that I have, whether it's, my cologne, It's Time, which is available down under, I'm pretty sure on Amazon and in stores, to my Puncher's Chance bourbon, which I think is down there too. Not shilling now, folks, just showing you. You build.
Oh, I'm getting that.
You build.
We're putting that on the list, Bruce.
We're going to buy
We're
some
getting
of that.
some for
We're
the
big
whiskey
bourbon
corner.
fans here,
Well,
mate.
I hold
We'll
up
get some of
bourbon,
that.
everybody gets excited. Okay, I know what that bourbon is.
We're in.
Yeah, it's Puncher's
It's
Chance.
Australia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Even
All
to
right,
doing,
listen to that.
even like I do a tremendous amount of videos. Like I'll introduce you like a champion in the UFC octagon, right? A keepsake for life, or birth of babies, birthdays. I do probably 5 to 10 or more weddings a week, audios and videos. And there's an app down there. It's called Cameo. I don't know if you have Cameo down there.
Yep.
And another one called Swish. And I offer these videos there, or people write directly into my company at brucebuffer.com. And the reason I mention all this is because, again, when you realize what you're doing and what you can offer the public, then it's not taking advantage. I mean, they want this. They wouldn't order so many videos from me, and the thank you notes that I get bring tears to my partners in my eyes, because we're making people so happy, right? It's a way of paying it forward, even though coins coming in. You give to charity, you give to yourself, you do what you should be doing in life, and you pay it forward and make people happy. So I'm all about a 3-foot theory. I want everybody around me to be happy, healthy, prosperous. I know if I can help them get there, then unselfishly I will retain those same awards. And that's another theory of life that I have, right? I want you to be successful. I want you to make money. I want you to be happy. If I'm feeling that energy around me, it's just going to feed off and I'm going to thrive from it.
That's a really good answer.
That is good.
I like that. I really like that.
Excellent. So, and Bruce, with all the arenas you've stood in and all the champions you've introduced and all the wins and losses you've witnessed, what's the one fight in your own life that no one saw, but you felt you might have lost?
Well, I've had a lot of goes. So, whether it's the fight, the elevator fight everybody talks about I had with the fighter Frank Trigg, that happened in front of Dana White. I mean, that was an experience, or whether it's my own personal things that happened in my life. But to me, the most meaningful fight I've ever had, pleasurable fight I've ever had, is taking care of my family, right? And coming up against all odds and all the odds we have to do to take care of my family, my mom, my dad, who are no longer with me, who always took care of me, and I always wanted to take care of them, to my brother, to my business partner, Kristen, and her family are like family to me. I mean, when I have my realm of my loved ones, that's the battle of life that's truly to be fought. If anybody wants to break into that or hurt us, then they're in for a fight, right? And they're not going to like how I come at it.
Our kind of man, eh?
Yep.
That's it.
I like that.
Confidence is one of your trademarks. How much of that was built and how much of that was instinctive?
I think a lot of it is instinctive because my father was one of the role models that I had. And, confidence is key. I said it earlier. If you're sitting down to a blackjack table, poker hand, or a competition, you've got to have confidence there. Got to believe you can win. Don't go in it just to play. Go in it to win it. And win like you're used to it, and lose like it doesn't bother you. So you can handle both areas of the spectrum, right? You either have a warrior spirit, competitive spirit, or you don't. And, you know, the people that make all the money are made up to the top 2%, but, you know, everybody else has a right to make that money too. Confidence is key in anything you do. Very, very key. And when we lack confidence, I think the results show our lack of confidence. We can actually change it. A mental attitude can change a lot of things. Oh,
Thank you very
liked
much.
it. I wanted to have more time with the average Joes. That was cool.
Well, call us back because we've got a few more questions, so you're free to call us back.
All right, sounds good. I hope you guys
Bruce.
enjoyed my answers. So
That was fantastic. Really
Bruce.
appreciate it, mate.
Thank you, Bruce.
Shandy Bruce, cheers. I thought that was good.
Well, that was epic. What a legend of a guy. I actually really enjoyed his answers.
Yep.
Really, really good. Thoughts? How do you think?
I think we need to take this to America and go and get some of these boys on.
I thought he was surprised at what was going on here. I think he got a real feel for what this podcast is all about.
Yep.
And I actually like what he said, but I liked where he was going, and I liked that he took the time to explain that the average Joe's, you know, he understood what that is, and then he moved on to his next point about it being, you know, this is what it is, and so you can marry that together in a beautiful way that I did. That's where this is the Average Joe's podcast. We're average Joes, but we're actually going to excel to this next point.
Yeah.
Whether the name transforms eventually or not, but eventually the topic of conversation and where it's looking to go is going to keep excelling, but it probably keeps you grounded in that it's still the Average Joes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're spot on, mate. And look, I know that there are a lot of people that do know the backstory to the name, and I'll just recap it very, very quickly, just so I guess to bring clarity to what Bruce was saying. But you're spot on, Dennis, and the way you've just picked up, Dennis, is great. When Average Joe's did start, it was the newspaper that called us Average Joe's because it was myself and a mate of mine, me being a plumber, my mate being a real estate agent, and then us having that 1 hour every week where we just challenged each other to be better. We held each other accountable to it. And when the newspaper heard that story that we were doing it, they called us Average Joes because that's who we were. We were just average men, normal everyday men out there working, blue-collar workers, but pushing to be better. And I think what he's saying, spot on, no one wants to be average. Like we want to excel, hence the reason why we've built the platform we've done and why we're doing this podcast in itself, because we want to look at average things in our life, but learn from men that are doing it better so that we can go, how do I take a page out of that man's book? How do I learn from that so that in my finances, in my marriage, in my parenting, in my business, in my circle of relationships, how can I become better with that? And that's exactly the whole point of it. You're spot on.
Well, and my concept on it is lifting the standard of average. Do you know what I mean? So because, you know, in a business sort of side of things, is that salespeople will rise to the level of the average salesperson. So, and your whole role is to actually create superstars. So the whole average of people actually come up. So, because then you're actually going, well, if the average is now, you know, the average person, your team is, let's say, a 6 out of a 10. You know, your goal is to make them out of a 7 out of a 10 and an 8 out of a 10, because like collectively as men, like we need to do better. Like if we can become better, well then, you know, we'll have more men that are going to stand on their own 2 feet, more men that are going to look after their families, more people are going to step up when they see something wrong happening. You know what I mean? Which, you know, people are scared to do it because they're going to get dragged over the ashes because, you know, they actually say, no, this is right and this is wrong. But if we can create those stronger men, then less and less of that's going to happen.
I think you're spot on, mate. When you look, oh, sorry, Mike, you were going to say something?
No.
I was just going to say,
Go for it.
I love the saying, a rising tide raises all ships, and I think that fits into that perfectly. If everyone can rise, then obviously we'll all keep getting better and keep striving for more. So
Oh, absolutely spot on, mate. And I was just going to say there's something very similar to that, Jamie, too. Like in your example there of in a sales company, everyone rises to the average salesperson. That literally points out exactly the importance of the type of people you hang around in your life. Because if the average of the people that you hang around is down below, you're going to become like that. So if you can change the circle of people that you're around, that you hang around, that you invest your time in, and you allow to invest time into you, if you can get a circle of that kind of support, that kind of mates that have a higher average, then just like the saying, you're saying like that rising tide rises you with it. And that's what's important. We always say, you know, mateship's one of our core 3M that we talk about all the time, you know. So I think you're spot on. When that first question that we're asking Bruce about the voices, him being known as the voice. And he said he listened to the voices, and he was talking about his brother's voice, how influential it played for him growing up. What about you, Les? What was the most influential voice in your upbringing that guided you? What was the biggest voice that you were listening to?
Well, you know mine from the podcast anyway was obviously my grandfather.
Yep.
But you guys?
It's got to be the men in your life, your father, your grandfather. As much for myself, I didn't recognise as a child how much my father and grandfather were influencing me until I grew up. And I'm a father now. I look at that and go, wow. But even what Bruce was saying then, how his father was such a great thing to stand on, this confidence that it gave him, he'd learnt from him to move forwards. It's how about you, mate?
I'm in the same line with Dennis, mate. My grandfather, and I wish he was, I think he was 15 years now, he passed away. And I wish he was alive today to have this conversation with him, because I don't think he realised the impact he had. I have so much respect for my own dad, and I've had my own dad on this show. You guys know I love my dad. My dad's an absolutely great man. There's a lot about my own dad where I've shaped my own life, and people have growing up when I used to meet people from my dad's work, and they would say, "Oh, you're Greg Taylor's boy." I'd be like, "Yeah," and they go, "Mate, it's a good man, your dad." And I loved hearing that. And there was a part of me that always went, I hope one day people meet my kids and go, "Who is your dad?" Wayne Taylor is a good man, your dad. That's always stuck in my head, that I want people to respond that same way. Now, as influential as my own dad was in that voice coming to me, my dad did one thing really, really well, and that was work. Did he do work-life balance well? I think he would, to his own admission, I say not even think, to his own admission, he could have improved on that, because he worked so much that he wasn't around a lot. But my grandfather, though, there was little tiny things, and I remember this one, he didn't realise how impactful this was in my life, but my grandfather was the trainer for the Balmain Tigers, right, the football team, hence my love for the Tigers as a team. When he retired from there, he then took on his own business, studying to do sports therapy, sports massage, sports, that kind of stuff. So a lot of time we'd go visit him. He would have football players at his house, and he was doing remedial work on it, right? So I got to meet a lot of players in as well. But I had a friend of mine copped a sports injury doing boxing, and I said, "Oh, you need to go see my grandfather, and he'll look after you." Now, he came from a very poor. He always so poor. My mate came from a very lower economical background. So I had a word with my pop leading into it, and I said, "Hey, Pop," I said, "I want to see my mate come see you." I said, "But when he's done," I said, "can you tell him it was free, but let me know how much it was, because I want to pay for him, because he doesn't have much money." And Pop looked at me, and I'll never forget this, because it shaped so much of what I believe is true masculinity. And he stopped and looked at me, and he goes, "Mate, I'll charge him what I think it's worth, but any good man can hold his own." And I stopped and I thought, no, you don't get it. He doesn't have much. But I didn't realise what my pop was actually, the underlying message in that. Yeah. And I stood back, and even now, fast forward 25 years from that, I'm going, this wasn't a lesson to him. This was a lesson to me. That, yeah, we go through times as men, and we've always said, if you're going through a hard time and you need support, you reach out, you speak up, you'll get support, not a problem at all. But there has to be a time where a man goes, no, I've got to hold my own. I've got to look at, I need to hold my own. So that was the message. So for me growing up, the voice that was, I would say, predominantly influential that I listened to was my own grandfather. What about you, Jamie?
Well, yeah, I've been racking my brain, and I didn't have the same sort of thing. You know what I mean? Didn't know my dad since 8. Like all I remember my dad working though. All I remember of my dad is working 12-hour days, farmer. Do you know what I mean? So the people around my life though I do remember actually thinking about my friends' dads, where I was like, not that they said too much to me, but they gave me the support, and I guess that belief as well too, where they actually did sort of, you know what I mean, treat me as, you wouldn't say family, but they sort of took you under your wing sort of thing. And I distinctly remember thinking to myself, that's the kind of dad that I want to be, you know? And that's sort of like what went into so much of my, I guess, the development and the coaching and all that sort of stuff, because I was like, well, I want my son to be set up the best that he possibly can, sort of thing. And throughout my life, I think it's just important to have your eyes open to people that are doing well around you and having that option to the actual conscious choice to go, who do I want to be like? Because then you can emulate those types of people. So, growing up, I had friends' dads that were awesome. I've had mentors through business, which sort of really showed me, the discipline and how to treat people fairly and how important it is to upskill yourself and develop and all the rest of it. But also investing in yourself to people that, there's no shortcuts in life, but something that can make things, I guess, better is you actually just go and apply something that someone else has done well.
Yeah.
So yeah, rather than trying to dabble in something and going, this is too hard, actually find someone that is where you want to be and actually go, okay, these are the ways that I can actually get there.
Yeah.
So,
Wayne, just go back to your grandfather, mate. Now, what was he like with your dad? Did you ever know? Did it?
Yes. Okay.
Was
So
your-
that grandfather, they weren't father-son. This was my mum's dad.
Yeah, okay.
But interestingly enough, so my dad's dad, very quiet, very reserved, similar to my dad. So maybe my dad copied traits similar to that. So I didn't know him. He died when I was a lot younger. Probably saw him twice a year, maybe, because I live far away. But yeah, my mum's dad was the grandfather that was influential.
Because I reckon there'd be so many men who are like your dad, overworking. Like I've done it for many years. You focus on working and providing for your family. And maybe being a grandfather is the bit where you don't have that work and you actually get the time to go back and redo it how you would have liked to do it had you not had any of the financial stresses that go along with being a father.
well, the cat's in the cradle, isn't it? The song. That's what it's all about.
But we say it all the time too. Like we, regardless of our upbringing, and we had that with a very recent interview with someone, regardless of your upbringing, because yes, and remember Lenny actually said that too, remember? We're talking about, your upbringing can be full of traumas, but it's no excuse as a man to not own and take accountability and be held accountable to the actions you're making now.
Yep.
Right? And I think that's huge. I think any man that tries to avoid it, not take ownership, it's a dangerous man. Looking at one of the questions there we're talking to Brucey about, and this is reflective to all of us actually, because we're all either 40. Actually, Dennis, how old are you? Late 30s?
40.
Yeah, 40 on the dot.
Yeah.
That's right.
Welcome, mate.
yeah. Welcome to the
Fucking
40s.
hurts, doesn't it?
The morning of your 40th birthday, you wake up in pain, like, oh, my leg, my back. Oh, jeez.
Where's he gone? He's not standing up.
Yeah, I didn't have I
45.
didn't have a chance to actually say, oh, this is actually like around the corner. This is coming. I was like boxing right up until next thing. All of a sudden, there was a year where I was planning flights. Next thing, boom, you're 40. So it was just so far away. Then it was there. There was no coming up to it. There was no weirdly enough. And now
I don't know.
still feel young.
I don't know if we touched on that when we had you on the show last time, but that's an interesting point. You go,
Yeah.
and then you're retired and you're 40. And was there a bit of a culture shock there, or did you just get straight into the next thing?
Yeah, no, it's just I don't know. It's really bizarre because I actually know people that said they woke up that morning and it's obviously mental, and they just said they felt old instantly. Now they didn't carry on like that, but it was just they put such a emphasis on it. But I think I was always like, boxing to the age of 38 and stuff, and I could see myself keeping up with 24-year-olds and 22-year-olds, and so I never put myself in that box. But then, boom, one day I was there, and I went, "Shit, I'm 40." But then there's these sayings like 40 is the new 30 and 50 is the new 40 and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. I think this has been good for me, really. I was never like, women will do it a lot more. They'll think, oh God, like, oh no, I'm hitting that milestone. Like, and they genuinely hate it. But I'm looking at every wrinkle, every grey hair, and I'm looking at that as like a battle scar. I'm like, another year I made through life, and I'm happy about that, to be fair.
When you look at the hairs on your head, Mike, what do you think?
Fucking bright. It's amazing how the colour changes.
But I think one of the things about, so many people around the world know Bruce Buffer. He's so iconic. That voice it echoes from country to country. but that didn't kick in until he was in his 40s. And I think there's a message in that to all men to not write yourself off when you're 40, to not think it's too late. Because
Why are you looking at me?
your face says,
Well, I think one of the major points he brought up, though, was just his mindset, where he's like, I don't think he's thinking about the age. I think he's thinking about making the most out of every opportunity. So I don't think it's always about just how old you are. So as he said, like he talked about that he had successes, you know what I mean? And he had successful businesses, but he also talked about he's taken a lot of shots. You know what I mean? He took a lot of chances at the title, and I think that's why I love autobiographies so much, because a lot of those times you actually hear about the tougher times, and I think that's really important for, like, we're always good about talking about, oh yeah, no, I had this successful business and I did this and I did this, but they were at a time when they were down and out as well and had a really, really tough time and then rebuilt themselves. And I think that, that is the sense of a true man, where it doesn't really matter about what happens to them, but they have the ability to get back up and keep going. And, that mindset where he was just like, he didn't say it, but I was pretty much thinking there going, he's like, yep, he's just got the mindset of suck it up, princess, and let's get on with it type thing. Doesn't matter if he's sick. It doesn't matter if, what anything else is happening. It's like, I'm just going to do it, so.
You look at the whole phrase that Bruce is known for, the whole "it's time," right? Stepping into that octagon. You're a fighter, you've trained in Dennis, you'd be in this situation many times. You're in the corner there, you're ready, the training, the prep in the corner, and then someone comes out and goes, right, it's time. Bell rings right now, line in the sand, it's time. Can a fighter go, whoa, give me a minute, just hold off, I've got to get ready? He can't, can he?
It's time
It's time
It's the
now.
most surreal feeling you'll ever feel.
So I wonder if then, you're looking at that, right, when somebody, for a fighter's situation, it's Bruce, there's somebody else announcing on their behalf, mate, it's time to step up now. There's no backing out. Right now is time. Line in the sand, time to take action. There's no more waiting around. It's time. So someone else is announcing it on the fighter's behalf. So you think for men, do you think they need somebody else in their life to go, hey, mate, it's time now? Or do you think men need to go, you know what, it's time right now? Do you think it's more effective for someone else to step in and say it to a guy?
I do believe you need people around you that will call you out in that regard, for sure. And like I personally go off and search for mentors. I've got mentors in different areas. And that was something I was going to say before too, about what you were mentioning. You've heard your friends' dads say stuff, and they say it takes a village to raise a kid. Like, very profound for me with my grandfather, but there was other things that he may not have known about other things that I could have gone off. And I think the answers are always out there, and if whatever you're looking for, you'll get it. But I do reach out to people even today, just to get over this, just to chat about certain little things. And luckily, over the last 10 years, I've built that base for myself. And if I'm honest about something that I'm not comfortable about, and I can go to these people and chat about that, and there's answers there. There's answers for everything. But if you have somebody that you're not showing up properly, and they'll do it. Pat would be that person as well for me. He will just turn around and say, which he said to me before, I think you need to get your priorities right, Dennis, and then we'll have a chat about something. You know what I mean? And so you do, and I'd never shut it down. I'd never turn around and say, listen, you're out of place. I'd say, yeah, actually, and then have a chat about it. So.
It just made me think of something. So basically 50% of this panel here, Dennis and I both mentioned the impact our grandfathers made. It's just made me think this very thing. I wonder if for men, it takes a man to get to that age of being a grandfather to then stop and go, wait a minute, I may have missed this when I was a father, but I'm not going to miss it now that I'm a grandfather. And that's the opportunity and the privilege and the honour to turn around to the generations below and go, hey, let me guide you here. Let me tell you where I'm at. Let me give you some wisdom. Let me impart into you some things that I didn't get when I was a dad, but I get now that I'm a granddad. I wonder if most men miss it as dads. The reason I ask that question is because the audience listening to this that are dads, if they can capture it now before they're a granddad, they can stop in their tracks now and go, well, hang on. If it's true that you get to that point when you're a granddad, maybe I can get here while I'm a dad and not miss the opportunity with my kids that I could have.
would that be in terms of giving them a bit more time and a little bit more sort of advice, or would that be turning around and finding the right advice for them?
That's a
I
good
think-
question. I think
it'd have to be both.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that is part of what you're trying to, you know, wisdom comes with age, yeah, but it also comes with effort, which is why it's important for you to make the effort to try to find those answers, as you're saying, quicker, because the answers are out there, you know. And I think that is part of like why you try so hard, because, you know, as Bruce was saying, it's like, you know, my family is the thing that I fight for, and when I'm down and out, these are the things that make like that I'm going to stand up for the most. And, you know, as he said, like anyone messes with my family, they're in for a hell of a fight and they won't like it. And I think that most men feel that way. But I think it's also important to actually fighting for your family, but also setting that example and teaching those kids. So that way, you know, because, you know, there's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? But it is all about just teaching their kids about how money works earlier so they're more successful in life.
Yep.
Which is fantastic money-wise, but it's also fantastic emotionally wise. It's also fantastic morally wise. It's also fantastic mindset wise, you know, work ethic wise. All these things make a difference. And the better you can become, I've always thought that your kids are going to do what you show them rather than what you tell them. So, you know, if we can start to learn those lessons quicker and show them and be, I guess, that give them that wisdom earlier in life, the better that they're going to be in the future.
Discover multi-award-winning real estate with podcast sponsor One Life Property Group, based on the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, specialising in everything from high-end duplexes to multi-residential developments, ensuring the highest quality workmanship. Visit onelifepropertygroup.com.au today to achieve excellence in your next property development.
Looking at confidence, when we're talking about confidence to Brucey, and one of his, I just called him Brucey, like he's a mate of mine.
Coming for a Barbie.
Hey.
Put the shrimp on the Barbie with Brucey.
We're doing on the weekend. I just got Brucey coming over.
He'd be a mate if he sent us a bottle of that bourbon he's got.
I'll be his mate if he sends me. But just, we'll call him Brucey from now on. Talking to Brucey just then about confidence, asking where he got his confidence from, if he was born with it or if he built it. And he said, no, you've either got it or you don't. What if you're a man that lacks confidence but you want it? How do you think a man could go out and search for it? What's the build up to it?
Well, if you've got something to fight for, you're going to find that confidence, right? There becomes a point where, you know, if you've got to do something for your family, if it's really go time, and I mean really like it's life or death, you find the energy to do it. So if you've got that really good reason to fight, whether it's your wife, your kids, whatever it is, that club you're a member of.
I think you go.
Oh, well, I have a bit of an analogy that I might have spoke about the last time on the podcast, but for me, with boxing, and I now related to the fighter that we spoke about, Danny Keaton, who's over. When you want to obviously be a world champion, you want to be this good and you don't want to do all of that. When you first rock up, you can't do it, right? You can't do it. But then you can build confidence, right, by solidifying little wins constantly. So you get the opportunity to spar this guy, you do well, you've overcome that. That solidifies that little bit of confidence in you. And then you build from there again and you move up. As when I started to spar people like Jeff Horn and Daniel Gill and all these guys, and I started to see that I could these little wins constantly. So I think you can build your way into you can go from having no confidence to little wins every day. And, you know, David Goggins will tell you it's about just doing a couple of things that you don't want to do, but just doing things that you're supposed to do in terms of where you want to go. And I think that you may not be born with the fight in you, but I think overall, if you just do not give up and you keep having those little wins, I think you can solidify yourself into eventually being at a place where you do believe in yourself and you will go for it. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because the first time you do something, that's when it's the most scariest. You know, and I think we've all done that where you know, if you've ever bungee jumped or whatever, when you're standing on the edge.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah, not doing that again.
Yeah?
Or ever, I should say, not again.
All right, well, so, all right.
Sorry, mate. I lack confidence, Jamie.
All right. So when I was young, I used to do a lot of silly stuff. We used to wakeboard behind cars, we'd climb mountains without ropes. You know what I mean? We'd be like jumping off cliffs and all this sort of stuff. So we used to do a lot of silly stuff. Yeah. And when I went bungee jumping, I was up on the edge and I wasn't scared. Yeah. But it was actually funny when they actually did the countdown, 3, 2, 1, and it was it's time, you know. I went to jump, my whole body sort of like went like that. And my mind was going jump and my body was going, fuck you, not a chance. Yeah. And the guys that were there in the bungee jump thing absolutely cracked up because they got this guy, big guy, doesn't look scared at all. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, you ready? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then I froze. Yeah. So, and then they're like, oh, it happens, just lean out. So I leant out. Yeah. And then you go past the point of no return and you bungee jump. Yeah. But I couldn't actually throw myself off the edge. Yeah. But then they missed the photo. So I got to go again. Yep. And the second time I was able to jump off backwards. Yep. So I lost a portion of that fear. So I think life is about that sometimes where you've actually just got to push yourself past that edge. And if you can't do it yourself, you know, get that little bit of extra coaching and developing to go. But the first time you do it is the scariest. And then the second time it becomes easier. And then the third time it becomes easier. And I think you're exactly right. That's how you gain those wins, where it's just small little wins along the way, where you become more and more confident, where I can handle this and I can handle that. And if you think about all the challenges you've had over your life, you've actually overcome a lot of shit to get to where you're at right now.
Yep.
So if you're thinking about all those challenges you've actually taken on and beat, then how can you not become more and more confident about it? Yeah. And I think a lot of the time it's, you know, that's fear, the worry, the doubt. The more time people spend in that time, the less confident they're going to be. Yeah. But if we actually start thinking about the successes and how far you pushed yourself and you don't stay in the shadows and you keep pushing yourself to go do more, you can't help but become more confident.
Yeah.
So
it is those little wins. I remember literally back in the day when I did my whole apprenticeship as a plumber and got a job with the company. My whole experience as a plumber was to build new homes. It's all I ever did, build new homes. Now, if you know anything about construction industry, especially in plumbing, there's about 3 main areas. There's maintenance, then there's new homes, and then there's like the bigger stuff, commercial, big stuff, right? And I was in the middle. I was doing new homes. I swapped jobs as a tradesman. I swapped jobs in another company that did the bigger stuff. They did like big schools and massive big high rises and whatever. And he goes, oh, just think of it like a big home because I'm actually going to put you in charge of one of the sites and put some guys under you. And I'm like, no chance, man. I've only ever built a new home. That's all I've ever done. He's like, no, I just think of it like a big home. And it was this big school at Petersham in Sydney, massive big school. Gave me like 3 or 4 tradies. They were all older than me, had 2 apprentices, and I was in charge of them all. By the end of it, my boss had gone, hey, listen, this is probably about 2 months out of me finishing that whole project. He'd gone, hey, listen, I need you to start up a company structure because I want to start putting you on just as a subby only. And I've gone, oh, okay, but I didn't really want to go down this path, you know. He's like, no, want to, you know, just work for me per day or per hour, whatever. So I started up this little company structure. I started subcontracting to him. And then the moment the job's over, he came to me and he goes, I'm going to let you go, mate. I said, what for? Like, honestly, I'm like, what have I done? He said, mate, I believe in you that much. You're not going to go and do it unless someone pushes you. So I'm pushing you. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you can do this, mate. Go have a crack. And I remember going home going, what do you mean I can do that? No, I can't. Really? And then picked up 1 or 2 little small jobs, invoiced them because for the last 2 months I've been invoicing him every week, you know. Started invoicing individual clients and then picked up more clients and I went, hang on, I can do this. Those little small wins, but he was on to push me. Then the next stage for that was obviously moving from Sydney to where we are now in Queensland. To try and keep the business going was a massive, and I know I've shared this story before, was a massive stress factor. How do you move from one state to another, but keep the business going in your first state? For 2 years, I woke up at 2 a.m. over the edge of my bed, dry reaching, with that much anxiety of it's going to fail, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. For 2 years, I built a business structure that allowed me to go, right, how do I run a business in an entirely different state, in a style of business that needs you to be there on ground, right? Once I learned that, it took me 2 to 3 years to learn it. Once I learned it, I went, if I can do this sitting in Queensland and I can do it in New South Wales, Why can't I do it sitting in Queensland and do it in Melbourne? Why can't I do it and do it? And that's what we did. We then grew it to, at one stage, we were in 4 states. But it was those little tiny things, and it came back to being pushed. Go, mate, you can do this. And getting those little wins, going, no, you're right. That little win turned into a bigger one, and that bigger one seems small now.
Yeah.
Then when you won that one seems smaller and bigger and bigger. And I think, you know, especially a lot of the time as men, maybe we're waiting to be pushed. Maybe it needs that person to come into your life and go, hey, I remember having that conversation with you, Mikie, when you were looking at switching jobs. And you're going, oh, but where does the work come from? And this, and I'm going, but from my confidence, I guess, from what I'd learned, I'm saying to you,
That was how it went.
yeah, you can do it, mate. It'll come.
Started an evening and weekends, and because you pushed me, and then kept giving me the nudge, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Oh. 2 weeks after quitting, I'm fully booked and building a team. So it's,
and now you've got employees. That's the thing. Like if
yeah, thanks, mate.
aren't they great? No,
Yeah. Hey,
good
did
employee
you
is good.
did you ever win the contract to fix the plumbing at that school?
I built it in such a way I had to go back. No, confidence is confidence is major. One of the things I was also saying about Bruce too, what he said when he would rock up to announce, he goes, you wouldn't know if I'm sick or not. I would rock up with the same energy every single time. You and I have said this conversation many times, Mike, about rocking up as not so much just being a dad, but just rocking up as a man. I don't think the world gives you room to not rock up as a man anymore. You have to rock up every single day. You go to work, you know, if you're sick, well, and I'll give this because I know one of the guys that works for us listens to our podcast and he is known for this. But Laurie, who works for us, mate, that guy will be eyes stinging, nose running, head pounding, and he's at work digging a hole and he's near 50. And I go, mate, you don't need to be. No, it needs to be done. And when I hear that, because he works for us, he enjoys working for us and we absolutely love him. But when I hear stories like that, I go, they're the kind of men the world needs, the ones that rock up even when it's hard. And like what Brucey was saying, he goes, you, if I'm rock up and I'm sick, you won't even know it because I put that same energy in. And I think the world needs that style of men that rock up and be men even when it's hard.
Do you think that's what, I'm going to get in trouble now, distinguishes us between women? Like, because I have that conversation. My wife will use, when she's not feeling good, she takes the day off and she'll use the sick pay and she'll do whatever. I don't. You don't. Like, you wouldn't have woken up that morning when it was cold outside and gone, oh, fuck, I don't feel good. I won't train today because you wouldn't have won the championship.
Yeah.
Is that one of the big differences between us?
I'm not going to use the word yelled at because I didn't necessarily get yelled at, but I got yelled at the other day by Lisa because I don't know if some of you know, but you can actually kind of see me sitting awkwardly, but my leg's in a brace because a couple of weeks ago I snapped my...
Oh, is that because of your leg?
No, but a few weeks ago I snapped my PCL on my knee, so it's very hard to... And I've been told not to drive, but the other day, I think it was about 2 days ago or 3 days ago, she sent me a message and it just was, you drove, because she's come out and the car's gone. And I've gone, yeah, the real estate have rung and there's a lady, she's got no hot water. It's like, yeah, but you drove. And I go, yeah, but this lady needs hot water. Like, you can't drive with your leg. Like, it's your right leg that's buggered. And it probably, the safety part of it, I probably shouldn't have driven, but there's that part of you that goes, I can't stop. Yeah, my leg's straight and in a brace, but needs hot water. You've got to keep going. You've got to
Pretend I'm a woman driver.
But it's true. I think, but I don't know. To answer your question, Mikey, is that a big difference between us? Look, geez, I don't know. I think you are going to get in trouble asking that question.
But we don't put self-preservation in there. It's the goose and the golden egg. The woman will sit back and go, no, I understand if I stop now and have that break, I'll be better for it. We just go, nah, we're the sacrificial